As the clock ticks down on the Biden administration, the president has delivered a series of parting blows that challenge the legacy of Donald Trump. In a move that might be interpreted as a middle finger to his predecessor, Biden has introduced or finalized policies targeting issues such as junk fees, overdraft charges, and workers' rights. These policies have garnered widespread support across the political spectrum, reflecting their impact on everyday Americans. But the looming specter of a potential Trump return raises a critical question. Will these policies survive the relentless rollback machine of a Republican administration? This video delves into Biden's final sprint, the regulatory victories he's achieved, and the threats these accomplishments face in a polarized political landscape. The policies, fighting for the everyday American. Junk fees ban. Biden's Federal Trade Commission, FTC, led by Chairwoman Lina Khan, finalized a rule banning junk fees. These hidden charges, often disguised in transaction processes, have been a thorn in the side of consumers. Junk fees, common in industries like airlines and banking, disproportionately affect low-income individuals. The FTC's 4-1 vote to finalize this rule signifies a bipartisan acknowledgement of their unfairness. Biden's action here reflects a clear focus on consumer protection, tackling an issue that resonates across party lines. Junk fees have long been criticized for their opacity and exploitative nature. For example, many travelers booking flights have encountered service fees or convenience charges that inflate the cost without adding any real value. Similarly, banking customers face sudden, unexplained fees when transferring funds or making payments. This regulatory change seeks to introduce much-needed transparency and fairness in these transactions. However, without strong enforcement mechanisms, these reforms could face significant challenges in implementation. Overdraft fee cap. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, tackled overdraft fees, a pervasive problem in the banking industry. These fees often serve as an exploitative revenue stream for major banks, disproportionately impacting those who can least afford them. By capping these charges, Biden's administration aims to alleviate a significant financial burden on millions of Americans. Overdraft fees have become a notorious example of financial exploitation. Studies show that a majority of overdraft revenue comes from just 9% of account holders, typically low-income individuals living paycheck to paycheck. This reform could save consumers billions annually, but it faces strong opposition from banking lobbyists. They argue that such caps could lead to reduced access to banking services or increased costs elsewhere, though proponents counter that these claims are exaggerated scare tactics. Overtime pay expansion. Biden's Department of Labor proposed expanding overtime pay to include an additional 4 million workers. This policy aimed to provide fair compensation to those who often work beyond their scheduled hours without adequate pay. However, a Texas judge's ruling blocked this effort, highlighting the legal hurdles progressive policies frequently face. The overtime rule's potential impact cannot be overstated. Millions of employees who currently earn modest salaries but work excessive hours would gain financial relief. This reform targets systemic exploitation in industries that rely heavily on salaried workers, such as retail and hospitality. Critics argue that the rule could burden businesses, particularly small enterprises, yet advocates emphasize that fair compensation fosters employee well-being and productivity. NonCompete ban. The FTC also worked on banning non-compete agreements. These agreements restrict workers from seeking employment with competitors, limiting job mobility and suppressing wages. While the rule is still under legal scrutiny, its potential impact on empowering workers and fostering competition is immense. Non-compete clauses have stifled career growth for countless workers, particularly in industries like technology and healthcare. These agreements often lock employees into stagnant roles, depriving them of better opportunities and depressing wages industry-wide. By eliminating non-competes, the FTC aims to level the playing field for workers and create a more dynamic labor market. This reform, however, is likely to face fierce resistance from corporations that benefit from restricting employee mobility. The political context. Trump's playbook. Trump's first term showcased his administration's aggressive use of the Congressional Review Act, CRA, to dismantle over 100 Obama-era regulations. Environmental protections, labor laws, and financial regulations were swept aside in a flurry of executive orders and legislative actions. A similar approach is expected if Trump or a like-minded Republican returns to power in 2025. The CRA provides an expedited process for overturning regulations finalized in the last 60 legislative days of an outgoing administration, putting Biden's recent achievements at immediate risk. The CRA's potency lies in its ability to undo significant regulatory progress with minimal legislative effort. During his tenure, Trump targeted rules protecting clean air, water, and endangered species. He also rolled back labor protections, prioritizing corporate interests over workers' rights. With Republicans likely to prioritize deregulation once again, Biden's initiatives, from consumer protections to environmental safeguards, stand on precarious ground. The media and messaging gap. One of the Democratic Party's perennial challenges lies in effectively communicating its victories to the public. Policies like the junk fee ban and overdraft fee cap enjoy overwhelming support, yet they risk fading into obscurity if not championed in the media. Republicans, on the other hand, have mastered the art of framing their actions as populist victories, even when they benefit corporations over individuals. For Democrats to protect Biden's legacy, they must highlight the tangible benefits these policies provide to ordinary Americans and expose the corporate interests driving Republican opposition. Democrats must also address their systemic messaging weaknesses. Unlike Republicans, who often rally around simple, emotionally resonant themes, Democrats frequently struggle to distill their policies into digestible narratives. For example, a campaign emphasizing Biden's junk fee ban saved you money could resonate broadly, but such messaging is rarely sustained. Effective storytelling, connecting policies to real-life experiences, is essential to counter conservative narratives and energize voters. The stakes for 2024. The battle for these policies is not just about regulatory details, it's a fight over the direction of the country. Will America prioritize the needs of workers and consumers, or will it revert to a landscape dominated by corporate interests? Biden's policies represent a clear vision for a fairer economy, but their survival depends on sustained political will, strategic messaging, and voter engagement. If Democrats fail to defend these reforms, the consequences could be severe. A rollback of consumer protections would embolden corporations to exploit loopholes, leaving millions of Americans vulnerable. Similarly, eliminating overtime expansions and non-compete bans would weaken worker rights and deepen economic inequality. The stakes extend beyond immediate policy outcomes. They represent a broader ideological struggle over who the government serves. Biden's final policy push is a testament to his administration's commitment to addressing inequities and protecting consumers. These actions, though significant, face a precarious future. The Republican Party's dedication to dismantling Democratic initiatives, coupled with legal challenges from conservative judges, underscores the fragility of progress in today's polarized environment. The stakes are high. If Democrats hope to preserve these gains, they must make a compelling case to the American people. They must expose the consequences of rolling back policies that benefit millions, emphasizing the human cost of political gamesmanship. As the 2024 election approaches, this narrative of progress versus regression, fairness versus exploitation, will be crucial in shaping the nation's future. In the end, Biden's policies serve as both a final act of defiance against Trump's legacy and a rallying cry for a more equitable America. The question remains, will the American people rise to the challenge of defending these victories, or will they watch as the clock rewinds to an era of corporate dominance? As the country moves toward its next political chapter, the fight for these policies and the vision they represent is far from over.